Hey, this is Mark again. I'm here with this Chinese quad here. I think it's a Linha Manco. Buddy of mine brought it in, couldn't get it started, so I checked all the normal spark plug stuff like that. Checked the screw on the bottom of the carburetor. Wasn't getting any gas into the carburetor, so I pulled the carburetor off. You can see in there, and this is what I found. I took the carburetor apart, and as you can see in there, I don't know, it's hard to see, but the whole thing was filled with the gel-like stuff. All the way in there, all the way in the carburetor. There was chunks here in the inlet for the gas. The main jet was clogged, the pilot jet, which I have everything sitting over here on the bench over here. I'll try to put a few pictures on it. As soon as I open it up, it was filled with, it looked like gelatin, which I blame for all the ethanol, the 10% ethanol in our fuel these days, and he doesn't use a treatment. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to clean it. So I took it all apart. There's all the little bits and pieces, the float, main jet, screw, pilot jet. Here's my needle jet. So everything is, I took my accelerator pump apart, the needle, the vacuum. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean it in my Harbor Freight ultrasonic cleaner. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it up with 3/4 water, and then I'm going to put 1/4 of simple green in it, and we'll see. It does a really good job on it. As you can see, it's hard to see in the camera or not, if you can see all that white powder all over, especially in the bowl of the carburetor. You can see it. That just gets in there and clogs everything up. Down here where the overflow and the drain is, it's block solid. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick it in there. So what I'm going to do is take the carburetor, plop it in there, and take the bowl. I'm going to take all the little bits and pieces of the internal to get them cleaned out. Just going to throw it in there. So then, I'm just going to take it and I'm pouring straight water in. And I'm going to fill it up about 3/4 of the way with the water. Take my simple green. I'm going to fill it up the rest of the way. Right up to where it says, back here there's a line that says max. So, then I'm going to plug it in. I got this at Harbor Freight with the coupon. I got it for like $60. Does a great job. So there we're on. Also, what's nice about this one is it has heat, so it'll heat up the water, which will make it even better for cleaning. So we'll turn the heat on. Put the lid on. And we're going to set it. Unfortunately, this is only good for roughly about 3 minutes at a time. I want to do this for about 30 minutes because it's pretty bad. So I'm just going to hit set all the way up and turn it on. As you can hear, it's in there now. It's bouncing sound waves off the carburetor. I will start breaking up all that varnish, all that ethanol dried up, and well, we'll check it in a little bit. Okay, it's been about 15 minutes since I put it in the machine to clean it, and as you can see, you can't even see to the bottom the dirt and the stuff it's taken off. Let's just take a peek and see how it's coming. Here's the bowl. As you can see, it's getting all that crud out of it. And what's nice about this is it gets all deep in. That little brass thing is a little tiny hole that goes all the way through into the accelerator pump. And it's doing a great job. So you don't have to use a bunch of carburetor spray and stuff like that. It gets it. As you can see, look at the brass of the heater element, all nice and clean. Let's check the brass, see how the brass is doing. There's the main, for the main jet. You see how nice and clean it's getting, very cleaning all the crud out of it. There's the screw for the overflow, and there's the pilot jet. And that's getting that all nice. Cool. Well, we'll put it in for another 15 minutes, and after that, then we'll take it out and start drying it off and blowing some air through it. Okay, so I got it all cleaned out of the machine. It's been in there just over 30 minutes. As you can see, all nice and clean inside. Same thing with the bowl. Even all the fixings, nice, clean. All the little holes, there's all little tiny holes, they're hard to see. Sometimes I take a little piece of, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but a little wire brush, and I go in these holes, just take a bristle off a wire brush, and there's little holes, I just put them in the little holes just to make sure that they're all nice and clean. So that's good. Okay, so we're going to start putting it back together. First thing I'm going to do is put the accelerator pump back together. So first I'm going to slide the plunger part up and in. Make sure that the rubber fits around nice and seat. And the spring goes on top. Now there was a little O-ring in there. It goes in right here. So you gotta make sure we put that in. It fits right in there. So now we take the cover, we get the screws ready. Take the cover. Spring, make sure your spring's in. Push it down. Make sure that rubber diaphragm's seated in the little ridge that's there. So I'm getting one screw started. Then we get the other one. Tighten it down. Tighten it down. Don't over tighten it. You can strip out the metal really easy or strip out the screw even worse. So, there's the accelerator pump back in. There's the shaft. Now we're going to take the little boot. And that slides right over the shaft. Down onto the body of the carburetor. Just like that. So that's good. Let's finish the bowl off. We'll stick the screw in for the overflow, the drain. Tighten that up. set that aside for now. We'll start on the bottom. First I'm going to start with they call it a needle jet. This goes in where the main jet goes, right about there. You got to make sure there's an end that's, the top of it's kind of rounded here, and the other end is like a hole. That's where the needle jet needle is going to go into. So we put that first in the hole with the bevel side towards the inside of the carburetor. Then we're going to take the jet needle holder, and that goes in right in here. Make sure the bevel is up. I said it went in. I was wrong. Bevel goes up. Didn't like that. And as you can see, the jet needle holder, if you can tell on there, right there, it's got a bevel in it also that it makes. So then you put that in there, tighten that up. Okay, so we got that tightened up. Next goes our main jet. Just looks like that. That screws right in. Tighten up. Now you can see it's all, there's the main jet. Next we're doing your pilot jet. That goes in the hole right next to the main jet. That's what helps you your bike idle and up the quarter throttle. So we'll install that. Okay. Next what we're going to do is we're going to install the float and the valve needle for the gas. So here's my float, and on there is a little silver tab, and this has a little ring around it. Just going to go on just like that. So it just hangs between the float, and that's going to go right here in this hole right here. We're going to set it down in there. Then we're going to take our float pin, install our float pin. Some of them just stay there with friction. This one's held in by a screw. Just make sure it's lined up in the groove. And tighten up the screw. In there. And your float's installed. So what happens is when your float is full, the float's up. When you need gas, the float drops. It lets fuel in through that little pin, and it closes. Okay. Next we're going to put the bowl back on the carb. So grab your gasket. Make sure you check your gasket. If it's broke or cracked or anything wrong, you have to replace it. So we're going to stick this in here, and there's a recessed in there. Get it in there like that. And then we're going to mate it to the body. Now I got the float to the body. Just going to take the 3 screws, stick them in, hold it, press it down between my fingers and my thumb to hold the bowl and hold the gasket in place. If you don't get it right, the gasket will leak. Get these. Since this is a Chinese quad, it's got these cheap screws. They're terrible. Okay, next we're going to install the vacuum cylinder. It's got our jet needle in. Make sure it sits nice and it's set properly. I don't know if you could see inside or not, but inside here it goes down. Make sure it's set in. Then we're going to set this into the carburetor. And then just make sure that the needle goes in the little holder on the inside. There's that little brass needle thing right there. It sticks out. Make sure that has to go right down the center of it. Just like that. I don't know if you can see it. Then make sure the rubber part of the diaphragm sits in the groove. Take your spring. Spring goes down the center. Cap. Gonna go right on. Just make sure that diaphragm stays in that groove right there. Gonna hold it down in one hand, and I'm gonna start the screws on the other. Once I get that snugged, start the other one. And there, carburetor's back together. Float works good. Accelerator pump gets a bracket that's still attached to the four-wheeler. This does is it gives a little extra juice of fuel. And then just take it, if you can see in here in the vacuum cylinder, just make sure it, push it up and down very, very gently. And just make sure it's got smooth action. And you'll hear a little bit of air. That means that your gasket up here is good. So I'm going to install it on the machine. Should fire right up. And that's it. This is Mark. Till next time.